Hello, YouTube. Yes, I just had to do a video about Pac. I was like, I always say I'm not going to do a video, and I'm like, I need to do a video. Hello, and welcome to the Crystal Show. One day, I'm speaking it into existence. Yes, I'm gonna have my own talk show one day. I always wanted to have my own, talk show. But today I wanted to talk about Tupac. Yes, Tupac. Tupac has always been one of my favorite rappers. You ask me, as a kid, I always used to debate. They like Tupac or Biggie? I'm like, Tupac. They like, what? You a sellout. Ain't you from Brooklyn? I was like, Biggie came out with 2 albums and all he talks about is sex and partying. So it's like, he's cool to listen to in the car, but when I want to get inspiration, I listen to Tupac. Why am I a poet today? I would like to think Tupac had some inspiration in the end. Of course, I'm a poet in my own right, but he, I gotta give accolades to him too, because he was very outspoken, but he was smart but stupid at the same time. And I wanted to talk to my young men. I love talking to my kids because I know kids are watching my channel. But I just wanted to say, I used to be so in love with Tupac as a kid, but now that I'm a mother and I'm older and I'm, more mature now, Tupac was very immature. He was very, very immature. I mean, it's such a shame because he was very intelligent. I mean, honestly, first of all, I feel like from the time he was born, he just didn't have a chance. I mean, his mother was in jail. His mother was on drugs. His stepfather was in jail. He just had a really hard life. And then he turned to the streets for male figures, which I kind of knew that. But when you have the streets as male figures, naturally, and all you have is a crackhead for a mother, and the women in your community are not positive, your perception on women is not going to be very positive. Just like, for example, for a young black girl, if she grows up and her father is not around, and then her mom has these different boyfriends that are not helping her financially, and he's more of a liability than he is an asset, that girl is going to grow up thinking that men ain't shit. I mean, that's just what it is. And so I think for Tupac, the reason why there was a disconnect between him and women is because he just didn't have positive female role models growing up. When the prostitutes and the pimps is your role model, that's what you're gonna know. He said that in an interview, and I've been watching a lot of his interviews again, because I saw them as a child and I was like, yeah, Tupac. And it's like, as an adult, 34 years old, I'm like, no, Tupac. Like, I watched the interview with Ayanna Johnson, and I wanted to talk about that. So, the rape case of him, I read 2 autobiographies and the rape wasn't mentioned, but naturally, they did a movie called All Eyes on Me that came out in 2017, and they did an okay job. And so one of the scenes talks about the rape, and so he didn't specifically rape her, but he made her feel like shit. And I think it's safe to say that our 19-year-old us, because I don't know if it's a generational thing, but I know with millennial men, in my experience, and I guess I have to thank God for the guys that I know, whether they be friends or if I was intimate with, if I ever was in a situation with a group of men, but I was intimate with one, that man will always kick out his friends and say, yo, y'all gotta leave, I'm about to get some, or you know what I mean. So I just don't understand why Tupac thought it was okay to leave her in a room with his friends. Like, why do you think that that's, I mean, granted, maybe he didn't think they would violate her like that, but the fact that he would say to her, get this bitch out my room, she's coming to you, she's yelling, she's hysterical, saying, why did you let this happen to me? And so as a man, he should have been like, wait, yo, calm down. Was it, be the mediator. Like, at the end of the day, she's your guest, right? She's your guest and stuff like that. And the reason why he went to jail, it wasn't even because who raped who, it's his whole attitude. First of all, he was walking around talking about thug life this and thug life that, which, by the way, was to sell records. He himself said it, that he never had a record until he became famous. So yes, he hung out in the streets, but he was never arrested. Like, you know what I mean? So he never talked about, he never like sold drugs or anything. Biggie sold drugs, and Biggie went to jail before he was famous. But Tupac, no. And that was the weird thing, because Biggie actually had a decent childhood. Biggie went to Catholic school. Biggie had a sober mother. And some people might say, oh, well, Biggie didn't have a dad either. But Biggie did have an uncle in Jamaica, and his mother used to take him to Jamaica every year. So he had some type of family connection. Tupac didn't. All he had was his sister. That's not enough. And then, he had his mom that wasn't sober. So literally, he turned to the streets for male connection because he had none. So it makes perfect sense that he basically would treat a woman like a prostitute, because that's what he knew. That's what he was around, prostitutes and pimps. He said it in an interview. And when he spoke to Ed Gordon just kind of sat there in silence, like, this boy is stupid. And it's like, I feel like if I was interviewing Tupac, I would be like, young man, let me tell you something. You're a young black man. You're very intelligent. I mean, if he was to take an IQ test, Tupac is one of the most intelligent people I've never met. I never met him, but he's just brilliant. And it's scary, because how many of us know so many young black men like that? And they stupid at the same time. Like, he's the type of guy that would be like, yeah, physics and quantum physics and pi and 3.14, but I got arrested for drinking in public. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you're too smart for that. Like, he's that type of dude. He's too smart for his own good. And the things that would come out of his mouth was just, that was his downfall. Like, regarding the rape case, he was saying, I should press charges on her because she gave me oral sex on a dance floor in the club. What? Like, why would you say something like that? Her giving you oral sex in the club was consensual because you received it. That wasn't forced. You enjoyed it, obviously, because she came back. Like, y'all met in the club, y'all had sex that night, y'all went on 3 or 4 dates according to her, and then she came back into your room again. So obviously you liked the fellatio. Did you not? Or you was just bored, or nah, and it was just, it's unfortunate, because he's like, the way she talked about it in an interview, and her interview is only 5 years ago, she's like, at some point he left the room. Like, she had braids and he was holding on to her braids. So I couldn't envision what that's like. But the part that I didn't understand is she said she was on top of him. So if you're on top of him, I don't know, it just didn't sound right. And then it's like he's holding your braids, and then there's a group of men. At some point he leaves the room, and then she says that she has an out-of-body experience. During the interview, she does not say she yelled stop or anything, and I found that very peculiar, because it's like, if it's a rape, why didn't you say stop? She says she had an out-of-body experience, which leads me to believe that she was either drunk or under the influence of drugs. So after it's over, she runs to his room and she's like, why did you let this happen to me? And he's like, get this bitch out the room. So I guess that was just his knee-jerk reaction, because he's like, bitch, I have nothing to do with it. I went to sleep and I'm minding my business. But for him to leave her in a room with all dudes, that was wrong. Like, that was, like, you don't do that. Even if you think they not gonna do nothing, she came there for you. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just didn't make sense. You know, it doesn't make sense. And he apologized in the end, because he knew that was wrong of how he treated her. I think she was, so based upon what she said in her body language, I believe she was assaulted, most definitely. And the fact that he didn't do anything about it, and then he was nasty to her about it, she's human, yes. So then she pressed charges. I feel like she's wrong for not pressing charges on the friends, because that was my thing with her. Like, you should have pressed charges on everybody, not just Pac. You know, so that wasn't right. But yeah, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And then what he was saying after, like, he said sorry to her, but on interviews he didn't sound remorseful, you know. And it was funny, because after that rape situation, his life was literally downhill. Like, I probably would have been suicidal if I was him, you know. I mean, his life was horrible after. So after that, he gets shot in the Times Square studio. So Lil C sees him come from across the street. He's like, oh, come upstairs, whatever. He gets to the lobby and he gets robbed and shot. Now, the problem I have with this scenario, folks, is that in the lyrics of a song, he predicted his own getting shot. How the fuck did he know he was going to get shot? And that niggas was going to have army fatigue. Like, how did he know this? Like, seriously. Now, for me personally, I have dreams and I'm able to see the future. It's a little creepy, but I literally be having deja vu. Like, I could have a dream about somebody today wearing denim jeans and a red scarf, and then I'll see them the next day and I'm like, yo, I had a dream that you had that on. Dead serious. Like, my dreams are very, very specific. I barely have dreams. I would say I have dreams about 3 or 4 times a year. It's very rare I have a dream. And then there's other times when my dreams are completely stupid. Like, I have comedy. If it's not drama, it's comedy. So some of my dreams, and then I have a lot of sexual dreams too, because that's what I'm thinking about. But yeah, so he ain't say he had a dream. He just was predicting these things, right? I think that's just too much. Like, how you know you gonna get shot by dudes with army fatigue on? And then that's what exactly happened. He got shot by dudes with army fatigue on. Like, I feel like he set that up. And then it came out in a documentary on YouTube that he had got 5 times. 2 of those gunshots he shot himself. Those are self-inflicted gunshots. So it's like he exaggerated a story to make himself sound tough. And it sounds crazy, because it's like, who the fuck would shoot themselves to make themselves look like, oh, I got shot, and this, that, and the third, you know, and da-da-da-da. But you have to understand that this man was an attention seeking. He loved attention. So I wouldn't run it past him that he set his own getting shot. Because how did he know that he, like, a lot of us that's writers is like, yes, some of us, we could tell the future and stuff like that. But unless if he worshiped the devil himself, there's no way that you're going to know that. Because the Bible says, as far as prophets, if they're sent by God, we know in part. The scripture says we know in part. So for me, God uses me in my dreams, and I know in part. I'm never going to know the whole thing. So for him to know the whole thing, he had to be worshiping the devil, or he set that up. It has to be one of the two. There's no way. Like, how did his lyrics saying, yeah, I'm gonna get shot in the lobby by men wearing army fatigue? How would he know that? How would he know that? Stop and think. How would he know that? And so after that happens, he got shot in the head. I don't think he planned on that, but whatever. He gets shot in the head, and he gets shot in the balls, but it didn't affect his balls, only the skin of the testicles. Balls meaning testicles. And they asked Ayana, they was like, how did you feel when you saw him like that? She was like, she had no feeling, So that tells me she was still vengeful. She was still upset, which is understandable. And then when he died, she said she didn't feel nothing. She didn't feel sad. She didn't feel happy. She didn't feel anything. She was like, she had moved on with her life and stuff like that. But I'm like, that's kind of cold to say that. Like, at the end of the day, he didn't stick it in you. There was no DNA evidence that he stuck it in you. So I feel like you could have felt a little bit of remorse when he died. Like, that's kind of weird. And then, whatchamacallit, then he lied and said about sleeping with Faith. And I believe Faith, because Faith had an interview pre-pandemic, and they Vlad TV, they like TMZ, and they asked her, they was like, did you have sex with Pac? And she said no, it was just a picture. And even Pac told Biggie's mom in confidence, like, yo, I'm just trying to sell some. No, he told Biggie, and Biggie told his mom, I'm just trying to sell some records. I don't know what happened to his money, but somewhere along the line, he didn't have no money. So Suge had to bail him out $1.8 million. And so the agreement was that he joined Death Row Records. Suge knew that he was a very talented artist and that he needed him to go to the next level financially. And so he did so. And they show in the movie All Eyes on Me, came out, it's on Tubi, by the way, of course. I don't know why I never went to see it. I think I saw it before, and then it didn't grab my attention. But it's actually, they did a good job. I love the way it first starts out. It shows you his background of his mother being a Black Panther. And the sad thing is that a lot of Black Panthers turn to drugs. I don't know why. I don't know if they felt overwhelmed with the civil rights movement. I don't know. But it's just sad that somebody so intelligent could just lose it like that, And a little backstory of the mother. So she was a straight A student, did well in school, and when it was time for her to, she actually dropped out because she felt bad that the kids in her school, they had stuff and she didn't have it. I was reading that somewhere, and I'm like, that don't even make sense. Like, but she needed supplies for class. I think it was like a art class or something, and her mother didn't have the money. So she dropped out because her mother didn't have money for supplies. So it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, just to drop out for that, it's really sad. And then Tupac said in an interview, he was like, he dropped out of high school too. And he was like, when it was time to fill out college applications, he's like, he didn't have money to go to college. But even back then, you had full financial aid. The more broke you are, and I think I told this I'm gonna make a video specifically for financial aid because and show you the steps of what to do, because it's just sad when people say stuff like that. It just cringes me, because you don't need money to go to school, folks. You really don't. If you have a job, right, and you have a child, in Tupac's case, he didn't have a kid, but if you could go to a city college, and the more poor you are, you get full financial aid, folks. Like, say for example, if you're in, like, every state has city colleges. If you're in New York City, for example, they have the CUNY system, right? If your parents make $45,000 or less, you are eligible for financial aid. Full financial aid, meaning you do not have to pay a dime in tuition. You get a refund check back. If you need to buy books, you go do so. But everybody knows that have a bachelor's, you do not need no books until you, unless if you're a nursing student, a nursing major, or like with me, criminal justice. I didn't start buying books till senior year. And you only get the books if it's really mandatory, because professors don't be using the books. So it's like, for him to say that, it's just like, what? Like, so unfortunate. Two brilliant people just wasted their brains, you know. And then like with Tupac, he at least had the opportunity to act. He went, because that's what he went to school for, acting. And so he got to do 7 movies, which is a great accomplishment before the age of 25. Albums. And then he's the only artist that he, after he passed away, he had an album every year. It was crazy. Like, it's like, is Tupac really dead? And then he was found in Vegas with Beyonce. So if that wasn't him, who was that? Look exactly like him. Y'all know what picture I'm talking about. It was all over social media. Nobody questioned her. Like, I don't know why Wendy Williams or Oprah didn't be like, who was that with you in the picture? Make her talk. Nobody wanted to make her talk. But it was just, yeah, Tupac's life was just unfortunate. And in the end of the movie, and I've seen documentaries about this too, they feel like Suge Knight might have been behind his death, if he really is dead. Because he was going to leave Death Row Records for another record company or whatever. Suge, you know, probably wasn't having that. And I find it very odd and very coincidental that right before he passed away, he beat somebody up that took his chain, and they said that he was Crip, the person was Crip or whatever. So like, Tupac had his moments where he literally was a bully. He literally was. And it's just sad that that was kind of like his legacy, you know. He right before he died, if he's dead, he beat somebody up right in the lobby in front of cameras and everything. And he got shot in the car with Suge Knight. Suge Knight didn't get shot at all. What a coincidence, right? So, and they saying that Suge Knight had him killed because he was going to leave. Same reason with Biggie. Like, Biggie was going to leave, so Diddy had him killed because he was going to leave Bad Boy. You know, but it's just, it's crazy. You know. Suge Knight went to jail later on for something else. You know, they show in the movie how Suge was a bully. He would beat you up. If you crossed him, he would beat you up. And he beat up people right in front of Tupac to let him know, hey, I'm not the one to mess with, you know. But, yeah, Tupac was just, I feel like I always said this, and I'll continue to say it. Tupac was the Malcolm X of rap. He really was. Like, he really was so intelligent, but the things that would come out his mouth sometime, that's why people didn't like him. And that's what I can't stress enough to my young black men. They already don't like you because you're young black and you're a young black man. Don't give them a reason. Don't give them more of a reason. You know, and it was so hard for people to like him because, let's face it, a lot of his lyrics was crazy. You know, but we love him for the Brenda's Got a Baby, keep your head up, you know, I ain't mad at you, dear mama. That's what we love him for. You know, he literally had two sides to him, like most of us do. You know, as talented people, you know, you gotta have two sides to you, right? You know, so I know when I'm dead, they gonna be like, oh, she was a hoe, and da 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 da, and then you're gonna have people to be like, no, she was a saint, you know. But whoever knew me, you know, if you knew me in 2007, 2008, yeah. But the Crystal that's now, I'm totally different from who I was at 19. That's why with that girl, she's 44 and she's like almost 50 now, because she said she was 44 in the interview. That was 5 years ago. So she's 49 now. She was like, I was 19 back then. And I think people forget that, because people are like, well, why would she put herself in a... Listen, when you was 19, and even if a rapper wasn't famous, sometimes you would do things that's a little questionable, okay? I know I did, and that's why my son is here. But yes, we've all done things that we're not proud of. That doesn't give a man a right to violate her. I don't care what she did. I don't care if she came in the club butt naked. I don't care. That does not give him a right to have his friends rape her. That's horrible. It's sad. Nobody deserves that. It's just, you know, her body language, I feel like she is telling the truth, but I need to understand as to why you don't remember when he left the room, because that's important. You know, you said out your own mouth, you was having sex with him, you was on top. So now, I've heard a woman could rape a man. I've heard that. But we talking about him raping her. And I'm trying to understand, if you was on top of him, having sex, or whatever y'all was doing, at that point, how is he raping you? Unless if you're under the influence, or if he's intimidating you, then yes. She said that she had her hair in braids, and he had her braids like this, or whatever. So it's like, okay, he was intimidating you. And then she said she did feel she had an out of body experience. So you was high, because that's the only time that people say when they have an out of body experience, that you high, or you in surgery. It's one of the two. You wasn't in surgery, so it's like, what do you mean out of body experience? You know, that's just... But the only reason why he went to jail is because of his image. Like, if he was like a regular schmegular dude, it may or may not have even gotten that far. But because he was Tupac and nobody liked him, it was like, oh yeah, put him in jail, crucify him. We want him in jail anyway, you know. So it's like, he went to jail, no evidence. Like, that's not right. You know, what he did was wrong, but my thing with her is, you knew he wasn't the one who raped you, because you said yourself at one point he left the room. So he probably was trying to be smart, like, yo, let me get out of this. Whatever they trying to do to her, obviously he wasn't in his rightful mind either, because he should have kicked everybody out the room. Like, nah, y'all not about to go and have, you know, whatever, not here, you know. And it's a lot of dudes, you know, that have group sex and stuff like that with these girls, and y'all are blessed that they never cried rape, because that's not smart to do that. And I wanted to talk to my young black boys out there under the sound of my voice, even if you my age. If you know you and your boys, y'all like having sex with the same girl, stop it. Stop that. Because one day, a bitch gonna say you raped her, and then what? And you don't have a Suge Knight in your life to bail you out. Tupac had Suge Knight. Some of y'all don't. Most of y'all don't got that. So be smart in your decisions. And that's what it boils down to. Two immature young people playing big boy and big girl games, and you know, it's not a game. You know, it's unfortunate. He probably felt in the back of his head like, oh, you know, they just want to have fun with her, whatever. He not thinking, oh, she's gonna cry rape or whatever, because he probably felt like, oh, okay, I did something with her last time. My friends is feeling her. Let them have their turn. And I'm pretty sure he's high during this time. There's no way you're sober thinking like that. Then also he gave a statement to say, he didn't tell them, because she said that they was making out. They was alone in the room at first, and that's when his friends came in. And instead of him saying, yo, chill, why y'all in here, he said that he did not tell them to leave the room because he didn't want them to think that that was his girlfriend. That sounds like some high school stuff. It really does. That sounds so high school. But it sounds like him because Tupac was very immature. Like, if you really watch his interviews and stuff, a lot of the stuff he say makes sense, but you could tell he's just very immature. Like, why would you say something like that? You didn't tell your friends to leave the room because you didn't want them to think that that was your girl. You think that low of her. Why she gotta be your girl for you to have just a little bit of respect for her? Like, that's why I'm like, I'm so happy that even when I was stupid, God always put me with the right dudes. Like, for real, because every young girl has had sex with a guy and his friends are in the truck, Jeep, whatever car he driving. Sometimes we put it out, you know, we're in the house, whatever, everybody drinking, whatever, having a good time. And when that man wants to be intimate with you, what does he do? Yo, everybody leave. Y'all gotta get the fuck out. That's what I remember. You know what I'm saying? Like, why does somebody have to be with you for you to kick them out? Like, the fact that he gave that statement, I'm like, yo, he didn't have a publicist, a friend, or anybody to pull him to the side and be like, yo, Tupac, the stuff you say is wild, crazy, boy. Like, bro, like, nobody pulled him to the side. Like, this dude had no friends. You could tell he had no friends. It's sad. Like, he had no friends. He had no guidance. He had nothing. He didn't have a mama because she was high. Like, so, and it's just unfortunate. He was just a ticking time bomb that was constantly blowing up. Really. We all say things that's like, but that's like, you don't say that. And then he got on the news and was like, I should have pressed charges on her. She the one that had oral sex with me on the dance floor. Bro, you just digging a hole for yourself. That's why your ass went to jail, and wasn't going to get out if it wasn't for Suge. It's crazy. But, I digress. But yes, it's just, image is everything. And if y'all haven't seen the movie, please watch it, or Eyes on Me on Tubi. And Tupac, my favorite Tupac album is Me Against the World. I mean, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. It's just like, I've always been a Tupac fan. I will always be a Tupac diehard fan. And it's just unfortunate for somebody that brilliant, life to be cut so short. But all of us are on assignment, and some of us are meant to die sooner than others. It was his fate. It was his time. So if he's really dead, because he had an album called Marvella, and when he's on the cross pretending to be Jesus, and that character Marvella, he faked his death. So Tupac, if you're out there in Cuba, we miss you, man. And what dead person comes out with an album every year? Like, this nigga been coming out with an album since 97. Every year he come out with another album. It's like, okay, who? And somebody was like, oh, he have a lot of music that he didn't put out there. And it's like nobody has that much music like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was 25. So what that's music from when he was 4? Like, you know, it's crazy. He's the only dead artist that constantly comes out with something new, right on up until pre-pandemic. I think the last album that came out for him was like 2018. It's like, you know, and he was consistent. 97, 98, 99, 2000. Like, they just, every year we saw a new Tupac album. Every year. Every year. You know. But Tupac, rest in peace. If you're still alive, we miss you. You see the rap era? It sucks, bro. It sucks. It sucks. It's trash. Like, there's no rapper out there right now. That's the only one is Kendrick Lamar. He's the only one I fucks with. And Andre 3000 don't do music no more. Nicki Minaj, as far as I'm concerned, is a pop singer. That's not rap. I don't know. You know, it's entertainment. Whatever. Remy Ma, she cool, whatever. But we don't really have rappers that talk about real stuff. You know, we just don't have that. Like, when Tupac died, it was a great loss in music culture, period. Not just rap. And those are my thoughts.